What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Speaking Sessions podcast. I've got Zack Williams here. Really excited because he's a digital marketer, not one of those gurus that you think about, but like a real legit digital marketer. He's an apexer, podcaster, speaker, father, and girl dad like myself. His daughter's a little bit older, but still pretty awesome being a girl dad. Zack has helped companies of all sizes grow, including Ford, Peterbilt, Redbull, and one he actually helped grow from $42,000 a year to $500,000 in 9 months. It's a huge jump over 9 months. But what I really like about him as well is that his mission is to educate and motivate people who are tired of working for a job, which I found really interesting. You put that "for" in there. So I want you to tell us a little bit more about yourself, and then I'm going to actually go back to that mission statement. So, Zack,
Yeah,
tell us a little bit about
absolutely.
yourself.
No, man, thank you so much. So my name is Zack Williams. I've been in the business or in the industry rather for a little over 15 years. 13 of those years have been in corporate America. So I've gotten to work for some really badass companies that I really look at, in my mind as successful, right? I got to see what they were doing, and it taught me a very valuable lesson that no matter where you're at, you still make mistakes, right?
Mm,
So I got to see what some of these big companies were doing, right and wrong, learn from it without it being any of my technical money. And then when I was able to make that transition into the private sector, I got to take that experience, that knowledge, that information, and apply it to smaller businesses that are really trying to make a difference in the world and give them some real valuable and useful information that they could implement immediately. So I've been in the private sector for about 3 years. Over the course of my 15 years of experience, I have been able to do, multiple nine figures in corporate America, multiple eight figures in the private sector for my clients, and I have been able to do seven figures for personal, or my personal businesses. So I've gotten the opportunity to kind of see every little stepping stone it takes to go from point A to point B and so on. So it's been really great to be able to take the information that I have and give it to people that are really hungry and willing to put in the work to make it happen.
mm. I love that. And it's very interesting. And I like that you did take what you actually learned at your job. I think a lot of people, there's like, I just got to get out. I got to do something. And they do something completely random from their job. Actually, I kind of am that person because I'm an engineer by trade, still working at BMW manufacturing as a controls engineer, basically automating the process of building the cars, like literally building the cars. But actually, I have a unique opportunity. I'm actually helping coach some of our first entry level management, helping them with presentation skills. So I kind of have a little segue there. So I'm trying to do the same thing like you, where you spent that time marketing for all these big firms and then you went on your own. So the same thing for me, which is really cool. But a lot of people don't make that jump, or they don't make the jump like that. They just decide I'm going to do something completely random and not find a way to actually, I guess, leverage the company you're working for in that 9 to 5 to really get that experience. So I'm guessing that really helped you out. I mean,
Yeah, it definitely did. It got me to see on a massive scale, really what the difference between, someone that is just now trying to start out a business
mhm,
versus, where those missing links are to what someone would consider as a well-oiled machine.
mm, and so uh, I guess taking all that, you really obviously enjoyed the marketing, but that is that why you decided to go into that, or was it just kind of made sense because you already knew it all to be able to take it on, or knew a
Um,
lot?
a little bit of both. I mean, I
Hmm.
really enjoy what I do. So, like,
Hmm.
sometimes it is a battle between my wife and I, and does put some sort of a strain on our relationship because even when I am off work or whatever the case, or we
Hmm.
go out with friends, she kind of tries to reel me in. She's like, "You don't always have to talk about business." I was like, "No, I understand, I get it." And she thinks in her mind she's looking out for me of being like, "Hey, it's okay to, like, take a load off, relax, whatever." And I had to be like, it's kind of just happens on accident because I really enjoy it. I'll sit down
Hmm.
and we'll be out hanging out, and because I've positioned myself the way I have, people know that I'm in business, people know that I'm an entrepreneur, people that know that I'm a serial investor, whatever you want to call it. So naturally they bring those questions to me because it's something that could benefit them. And I jump right on in with no issues. I'm not one of these ones to
Mm.
be like, oh, dude, I'm off work, or, schedule a time on my calendar. Like I'm like, yo, let's go, like,
Yeah.
and, so it really is that cliche saying of, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And I am honored to have the ability to say that. But a lot of that enjoyment does come from paying attention and honing in your crafts, because I don't care who you are. I don't care how much you think you might enjoy something. If you don't have a good knowledge base on it, there's no way you can convince me that you actually enjoy what you do. If you are constantly second guessing yourself, questioning yourself, having to go do a bunch of research and figure things out, ask other people questions, like if you don't have a good solid foundation and education on what it is that you're wanting to do, I have a really hard time believing that you're going to actually enjoy it.
Mm. And so just to clarify, so for your example, it's like you had to really know the marketing, but not necessarily like business itself or sales and all these other aspects when it comes to entrepreneurship, because that's obviously a big, wide open thing. You have to learn all these things or do all these things when you become that solopreneur. So are you just talking about specifically the thing that you're trying to build the business on? Or
Yeah, I would say specifically, I consult people a lot that are like, "Oh, I'm so ready. I'm so ready to be a business owner. I'm so ready to be a business owner. I'm so ready to be a business owner." And I'm like, for lack of, of examples, I'm like, no, bro, like you're just a good plumber or you're just a good
mm,
electrician. And that's not like any disrespect. It's just like helping get people out of the mindset of, all my family members says I'm a really good fencer, so I should start my own business. Because if you think back, in our parents' generation, like being an entrepreneur was not cool. Like
yeah.
they were kind of the outcasts. Now it's cool to be an entrepreneur. It's cool to be a business owner. And so you'll get these people who are being convinced by their friends and family that they're really good at something, and so that they should start their own business, because they understand now that the blinds have been pulled off of, like, corporate greed and stuff like that. And so they think that the answer is to just jump out and do it on your own. And at the end of the day, you may not be a good business owner. You might just be a good plumber or be a good electrician. Now, with that being said, that's not to say that you cannot build a business. It's just to know your lane and stay in it, and know that you're going to have to put other pieces of the puzzle in play. Um, so to answer the question, kind of, like, I was really good at marketing. Because of marketing and because I was good at marketing, I had to obviously learn sales. I think everyone listening right now, in some way, shape, or form, you are in sales. You've
Hmm.
got to sell your product, you've got to sell your service, you've got to sell yourself. So whatever, however you want to spin that, we're still in sales at the end of the day. Um, Now, with that being said, I did have to learn the business side of things, and it's hard. And actually, I had a third interview with a CEO for my business today, which is the scariest thing I've ever said out loud. Uh, um, I am actively hiring, a, a CEO for my business, and that is because I had to learn that I cannot be 100% of all things in my business to scale it to where it is. We've done over $1 million in the business so far, which is great. Don't get me wrong. It's worked to get us to where we're at now. But if I want to think like a business owner, I've got to find things that I need to improve on within the organization. And sometimes, guess what? The problem might be you, bro. It might be me. So knowing what your lane is, and like I said, you might be a good plumber. That's great. Be a good
Hmm.
plumber. Don't come out here and try and do it all yourself. Hire yourself a marketing company or a marketing employee. Hire yourself an HR person, a bookkeeper, whatever it is. For me and my, can I build you a website? Absolutely, I can. Might take me 3 weeks. One of my dev guys could probably knock that out in 72 hours,
Yeah.
and so it's like, there's so many things that happen inside of my organization that, could I do it? Yes. Am I the best fit for that? No. And when it comes time to hiring people and scaling your business and going becoming, whether it be an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, business owner, investor, whatever you want to title yourself is it comes to finding people that actually care to be in the seat that they're on in or the lane that they're in.
Mm.
So when I replace things that I don't want to do or that I'm not the best at, I put someone in place that wants to do that.
Mm.
Like, believe it or not, like there's people out there that want to just sit there behind a computer and just jam away on coding and not even
Yep.
look up once. That's not for me. Vice versa. I like being in front of the camera. I like being on stages. I like being the center of attention. And there's a lot of people that don't like that. So keeping that mindset of knowing A, what shoes you need to fill, and B, being cognizant of the fact that you need to find, like, I don't just give my dirty work to someone because I don't want to do it. I
Mm.
give the stuff that I don't want to do to people that actually care about it and people that actually want to do it. And that is really the way to quote unquote build a business versus, again, just being a really good guy that can build a deck or dig a pool or whatever the case.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because that totally goes against your mission if you're literally just giving somebody a job and putting them in a role just to put them in that role. Because you're trying to motivate people who are tired of working for a job. So
Right.
why is that your mission? I'm curious about that.
So like getting people out of jobs. So
Yeah.
you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. So gurus is a cuss word to me. Even though I am setting myself up to be in a position to be an influencer in the marketing world, right? So some people, for lack of better terms, would call me a quote unquote guru, and I'm like, oh, I'm not one of those guys. But one of the big buzzwords in catchy clickbaity words is like, $10,000 a month. Um, that's what they want to get. And what I'm going to call is desperate people. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. It's just people are so hungry and so ready to get out of that 9 to 5 and to, jump into the deep end that these gurus are setting these people up for failure. And
Mm.
that's the part I don't like because $10,000 a month to some people, that's great money. To some people, they made that today. There's so many levels of this, but the thing that you've got to understand or that people have to understand is $10,000 a month at the end of the day is still a job. It's a high paying job, but it is not a business, right?
Mm.
You can't have employees at $10,000 a month.
Yeah.
And so now we could sit here and argue VAs and maybe some lower level employees. But again, if you're going back to what you said earlier, like I want people to enjoy what they do. I want people to really excel. I want people to have room to grow. And there's not enough meat on the bone for $10,000 a month. Um, so my mission is to help teaching people more so what to expect realistically versus like all the rainbows and sunshine and unicorn dust. It's about like this this sucks sometimes. You're
Mm.
gonna fight with your spouse sometimes. You're gonna miss out on some really great opportunities with your children sometimes. You're gonna miss out on family and friend related events. Like you're gonna have sleepless nights. I wake up at 4 in the morning damn near every morning. And there's some nights that I don't go to bed till midnight or 1 a.m. And I miss out on a lot of opportunities. But before I get crucified saying, like, oh, he's selling himself for the money, this, that, whatever, and, he's losing time away from his family, it's because we have deadlines. I'm not going to
Mm.
be doing this forever. I got 3 more years and I'm out. Why do you think I'm hiring a CEO right now? It's all about scalability and speed to market. Now, you can't do what I'm doing at $10,000 a month.
Yeah.
So my whole education portion of it is teaching people that there's a right and a wrong way of building a business and scaling a business and having that mindset. Now, for you, if you're listening right now, $10,000 a month sounds like life changing for you. And it is temporarily. If you're not
Mm.
making 10 grand a month right now, for the next 5, 6 years, 10 grand a month could very well be a different way of life, but you're still going to have to work for that, right? If you sit back and think about, you might be making $60,000 an hour. I mean, pardon me, $60,000 an hour is not bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
$60,000, a year right now, but only working 40 hours a week. And they're like, well, I'm so ready to make 10 grand a month that they're like, all right, screw it. I'm going to jump in, become an entrepreneur. They're not going to be really prepared for it. They're not going to have the puzzle pieces in place. They jump into it. Congratulations. Yeah, you're making $10 an hour, but now you're working 90 hours a week. You're
Hmm.
making less money,
Yep.
per hour. But guess what? It's cool. Your guru told you you could do it. Now you're making 10 grand a month.
Yeah.
What I
That
like to
sounds like a
do,
good trade-off.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. So what I like to do is try and help people get prepared for what's to come, and make sure that we're setting them up to be able to grow a business and scale it. And for me, it takes people. You need to hire people to do the things that either you don't want to do or you're not good at, and it goes back to efficiency and stuff like that. Like I said, the same website that I could build you in 3 weeks, I could have one of my dev guys pump out in 72 hours. Now, not only, and even say it takes him a week, right? To say it takes him 5 days. Not only are we getting that same exact website done in a third of the time, and honestly, probably better, but now I've bought all my time back.
Hmm.
So now it's not my time. Even if you were to say it took me the same amount of time, now the week it takes him, say it takes me only a week as well. I could either do it, spend a week doing it, or I could pay him a portion of the profits and him do it for a week. And now I'm back off selling. I've got a whole extra week of my time bought back that I can go back to do what I'm good at, being in front of people, networking with people, creating
Hmm.
content that's going to pull people in. I'm now in my lane. I'm now being efficient with my time because I enjoy it. I know it. I I've got the opportunities to do what I want to do, so that I'm putting out higher caliber work because it's in the lane that I actually care about being in.
Yeah, and then your time actually becomes more valuable because that profit you made from that guy doing the web development, that's your hourly rate, if you will, or your salary, whatever. And but then you multiply that more people, that means your time is worth more and more and more. So as you do
100%.
other things, yeah, that's where your value really comes in. If you want to put an actual dollar value. Now, of course, we can put a personal value on ourselves that may not equate to a dollar value, it may go back to that, but it may not be the literal, oh, I make $5,000 an hour, or 60, like we said earlier, which would be
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, no
so,
doubt. Yeah.
so go ahead.
Thomas Keenan actually talks about that in his book. And I apologize. Is there cursing on your channel?
I usually don't. I mean,
No.
if there's a
Okay,
curse
that's
word
fine.
too, it's
No.
not a big deal. But
Well,
I
no,
know the name of the book, but
yeah, okay.
it's all right. You go ahead and say it. I mean, it's a
Okay.
book title.
All right. Well, the book title is "Unfuck Your Business."
Yeah.
So that's where my hesitation was there on that. And I apologize. I let a few slip earlier, but there's something really good that you can pull out of that. One of the chapters talks about these buckets for your time, and you've
Hmm.
got $10 an hour buckets, $100 an hour buckets, $1,000 an hour buckets, and $10,000 an hour buckets. And as quickly as possible, you need to replace any task that you're doing that's in that $10 an hour bucket. You don't ever need to be focused on that. So you need to hire that out immediately. Now,
Hmm.
some people, $100 an hour is still a lot of money. And so they have a hard time letting that go. But you genuinely need to get yourself in a position and get a plan in place to replace yourself and buy your time back for those $100 an hour tasks. So that's your next thing. Really, if you're gonna want to be a true business owner, you've really got to focus on your $1,000 an hour tasks and your $10,000 an hour task, and that's the way to truly scale your business.
Hmm. Yeah, great book, by the way. I appreciate you throwing that in there. That is a great book that if y'all are trying to get into business, definitely check it out. It talks about a lot of different things to help you really get started with that business and start it off right, not just kind of start it out and, hey, here's how to get an LLC, stuff like that. So it talks about core values, all of that stuff, which is super important in that business. But I do want to do a shift. While I've got you here,
Yeah.
you're a digital marketer. How in the world do we present ourselves on social media where we become the expert, because a lot of us are getting started with social media and it's all about positioning yourself. Of course, there's the personal branding, there's the business branding that we're trying to build as well. But how do we, from a personal branding perspective, how do we brand ourselves as an expert in a specific field that we want to get into to build a business?
I think that's a great question. And really, the simple way is don't try and recreate the wheel.
Mm,
So, in your industry, I don't care who you are, you're going to have 3 to 5 competitors that are going to be what I call direct competitors. Those are specific people that are taking money away from you actively. Now, if you're more of a geographically located organization, those might be people that are local to you. If you're not, it's just probably going to be what I would consider uh, on the same level that you are, whether that be revenue, employee size, you name it. And then you also are going to have what I call global competitors. Now, these are going to be people that are the Fortune 500 and Fortune 100 versions of what it is that you're trying to do, right? You take a look at what they're doing and you just simply replicate it in your own brand style and in your own brand voice. Like these people are spending millions of dollars a year to figure out what little old us are sitting here trying to figure out. Why are we
mm.
trying? Why are we wasting our time? Go,
Yeah.
go see what they're doing, see what you like, what you don't like. Now, I'm not saying just be someone else. Um, you still are going to need to come up with your own brand style and your own brand voice. So, like, you need to know who you are to the core and like what kind of message and image you're trying to put out there. Like I understand I'm not everyone's cup of tea. Like, I'm loud, I'm obnoxious, I wear all black, I'm tattooed head to toe, and I cuss, it is what it is. I understand that I'm not everyone's cup of tea, but also you would be an idiot to think that there's not a certain demographic that would gravitate towards the way I talk, the way I walk, the way I act, and how I'm just 100% real on and off camera. The reason I cuss like this, or just cuss in general, or just act the way I do, or say some of the things that I say, is because I have no stresses about me on what I say, what I do on social media, out in public, this, that, whatever, because I'm the same behind the camera as in front of the camera, on social, off social. So like, if something comes up and I, end up dropping the F bomb or this or that and just casual conversation, guess what? That's me, bro. You can
Hmm.
either, it is what it is. Now, I understand that that doesn't work for everyone, or they don't gravitate towards that. And I'm cool with that. And I understand that and I accept that. But I understand to my core who Zack Williams is. I understand what my mission is and what I'm trying to do and what my brand style and brand voice and brand guides are. And because of that, that's why my social media, my presence, and basically everything you see about me looks the same. Now, I'm not here to say that I came up with all this, that I'm some marketing genius. I simply looked at the people that I look up to, that I mentor, or mentored by rather, and I took the best of all of it. So I look up to the Andy Frisellas, the Ryan Stumans, even the Ed Milet's, Sean Whalen's. I mean, you name it. I am taking little bits and pieces of everything that they're doing that I think's cool, and at the end of the day, I'm trying to do it better, right?
Hmm.
I want, at the end of the day, once you start getting to these certain levels, there's a level of attention that you end up having to lose. You have to sacrifice time and resources somewhere. So, eventually, now I've done a really good job of setting myself up in my SOPs and my brand guidelines to I could pass this off to someone and they're going to know exactly what to do.
Hmm.
But if I didn't have the time, or maybe if my focus hadn't been in like marketing and branding and strategy, maybe it would fall off some. But the point is I'm going to these people and seeing what they've done, what that I like and what I don't like, and I've replicated it in my own style. And so now, in my opinion, there's a lot of people out there that are my quote unquote global competitors, right? The people that I look up to, that I like my content better than theirs. And it just is what it is. And that's the whole point. Is it's not about becoming someone else, or like being a perfect mirror image of someone. It's
Hmm.
finding out, the parts of it that you like, Is it the colors? Is it the contrast? Is it the way they talk? Is the type of creative, which is going to be your graphics and your pictures, your images, all your digital elements? Is it going to be the copy, the way they talk, the way they type, the way they create captions? Is it going to be their hashtags? How do they use their hashtags? What their reels look like? What their stories look like? What their TikToks, this, that, you name it, looks like, and find a way to recreate that in your own brand voice.
Hmm. So good. And you mentioned about like, different types of tea. Not everybody likes the same kind of tea. And that's such a good point. Could you expand upon that? Because I think a lot of people feel like they need to be, I guess, a one size fits all, if you will.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, polarizing is the word that we use for that. And if you
Hmm.
look at the people that I'm involved with, Ryan Stewman, Billy Jean, Andy Frisella, Sean Whalen, they're all extremely aggressive. They're all say what they want to say, and they don't give a shit who thinks anything else about it. And they attract a certain type of demographic and clientele that understands them. And so once you start realizing that there's two things that you got to do in marketing, you need to attract the right customer, but you also need to learn how to repel the wrong customer.
Mm.
Not all customers are equal. And people need to understand that is there's no point in trying to chase a dollar if it's not going to make you happy on the inside. And I'm not saying that I can't get along with someone that doesn't cuss or doesn't have tattoos or doesn't wear all black all the time and drive a lifted truck and shoot guns. You know what I mean? Like, um, it's not to say that I can't do that or, interact with those people. And I'm not segregating myself, but I'm just saying that I know who I am,
Hmm.
and I'm not going to waver on who I am just to try to close a deal, because then now I'm anxious every time I'm talking to them. I'm worried I'm going to say the wrong thing. I'm constantly in the shadow and have this constant fear of like I'm not being myself. And if I'm not myself, there's absolutely no way that I can be performing to the best of my abilities. So, I think it's important for the listeners who are constantly, especially to speak to your audience specifically, um, about speaking, about public speaking. You got to imagine yourself up on that stage. And if you if you don't enjoy the crowd that you look out and see, if you don't feel like you have anything uh in relation to them, if you don't think you have anything that you're going to really be able to give them and they're going to actually take in and take you seriously, guarantee you're not going to perform near as well as if you're in a crowd of people that look like you, talk like you, walk like you, speak like you, drive the same cars you do, look up the same stuff, enjoy the same pastime activities. It's almost like you're gonna, once you figure out who that ideal demographic is and how to attract them, but also how to repel the ones you don't want to be around. It's almost like you're just talking with homies at the end of the day. Like, it really takes that stress off. There's a level, like an added level of trust. It just is what it is. I know that I'm like hard around the edges, and stuff like that. And I'm not probably your ideal demographic as someone that would or not ideal demographic, but just ideal image of like someone that is involved in the church or this or that. But I remember growing up that was big on me in the church, is just like, I know I act differently, but I act myself nonstop. And I realized that there's a level of people that would gravitate towards me because I still acted a certain type of way, but I was also just myself rather than, I'll use this kind of analogy. Me personally, I don't think that someone in a 5-piece suit and a 10-pound Bible can go and teach the entire world about Jesus. I don't think that there's
Mm.
a lot of people that would consume that same amount of information just packaged up in a different package. I don't think there would be. And I take that same approach in business. Is like, I get it. There's a lot of, going back to these like fake gurus, there's a lot of dudes out there renting Lamborghinis and, renting some Ford suits and trying to pretend like there's something that they're not. Meanwhile, you got me in a 1967 Lincoln Continental wearing all black and a flat bill trying to tell you how to run your business.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you might be like Stewan where you bought those black tees off of Amazon, right? Like 20
Yeah.
for $2.
Right. Yeah.
but
Right.
but yeah, I mean that's such a good point. And something I talk about a lot is that, just be you, be the person that you are. And actually had a conversation with actually two guys this past weekend. We were on some coaching calls, and we actually talked about that because they felt like, man, I want to talk about my faith more, but I just don't know if maybe I should actually be more, like, I guess, involved in the church as far as like helping spread the word and everything like that. And I told him, no, like, you're in a place you need to be. God has you there for a reason, and you can reach those people because you're in that entrepreneur space. You're being that business owner. So kind of same thing for you. Yeah, like you may look a little rough around the edges for some people that aren't into tattoos and all that stuff, but you can relate to those people that want to be Christians, that are thinking about finding God, because you do look like them. And so if you're out there, I guess, with them, if you will, you're looking a little bit more like them. They can identify with you versus somebody who, like you said, clean cut, the Tom Ford suit. And it looks like they would not have anything to do with that person that's got all the tattoos. Not
Yep.
that people with tattoos are bad or anything, but just, it's just different people. And so you have to be you. You have to be you so you can reach the people that you're trying to reach. And I mean, I love everything that you said. And yeah, I talk about that all the time, especially like with just speaking as well, is just speak your message, whatever that is for you, to reach that audience. Don't worry about if people are not going to like you or not, because they're going to like you or not, no matter what. So you might as well just be the person you want to be versus trying to be somebody you think they want you to be.
Man, 100%, bro. Like, there's at the end of the day, we can sit here and try and be as politically correct as we want, but at the end of the day, people judge people, people click up, there.
Hmm.
So, at the end of the day, like, you've really got to focus on, are you happy with the life you're living? Are you happy with the position that you're in? Are you happy with like what you're doing with the time that you've been given? And this is coming from someone who was on my deathbed. In 2013, I had a motorcycle wreck, coded twice. Like,
Mm.
I had $1.2 million in medical bills, told I was never going to walk again. Like, you name it, it happened to me. Your body holds 8 to 10 units of blood. I went through 27 and 9 days. If I hadn't wrecked somewhere with a blood bank, I would have bled the hospital out of blood. Like,
Wow.
and so I have a different outlook on life than most people do
Hmm.
because to me, this is my second chance. This is my second opportunity. And so what I'm doing is I'm really focusing on every day that I wake up being better than who I was yesterday. And I think that leads a lot to the success that I've had. It's constantly pushing myself to be better. And I just, you don't have to go through a near death experience to get that to click in your head. And I don't want
Mm.
you to have to. And I tell people all the time, a lot of this stuff that you hear, a lot of the stuff that you may or may not have heard me say today may not be the first time you've heard it, but at some point you're going to hear it from someone that you
Mm.
relate with and you connect with, and it's going to click. And that's all it's going to take for you to change your life. You still have all the same abilities inside of you right now at this very second that you would tomorrow if you had heard the same exact message from someone else, or maybe yesterday you heard the same exact message from someone else, but it took you hearing it from me to relate to me for it to click, and now you get to go and change your life. And that is the opportunities that we're faced with daily, is just, are you going to take the information that I've said today, and are you going to apply it, and you're going to allow this to change your life?
Man, that is so true. I say that all the time. Like, you and I could have the same exact message and impact different people. So it doesn't matter if you want to have the same message as Tony Robbins or anybody else that's been saying that. As long as it's coming from you and it's your words, not literally taking the same words as they say, you're going to impact people. But
100%.
I do have one more question for you since we got you on here. If people are looking to try and position themselves to be able to get on stages, or maybe they've already been on a couple, but they want to get on more, what's a good way for them to use social media to leverage that? You leverage social media to be able to get on those stages.
Yeah, absolutely. So realistically, you should just be utilizing that content. Most of the time, I don't care if you're speaking for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or an hour long, keynote speech, whatever the case is, you're getting a lot of really good content out there. And for me, you can call it vain, you can call it being a social media queen, whatever you want to call it. But like everything for me is like content opportunities. Now, again, I'm not this like fake guru that's renting a Lamborghini and a fake Tom Ford suit and like posting up and like flexing for the Instagram. But me speaking on stage, that's real. Like that's real life, content that you can capitalize on. So spend the extra, $200-300 to have your own. Don't rely on someone else's photographer. Bring your own photographer, bring your own videographer, capture your own content. Do not put this is way too important to put in someone else's responsibilities, but bring your own people, capture your own content, tell your own story based around that, and then regurgitate that later on in social media. You'd be surprised in one 15-minute speech how much like 30-second like nuggets you can get and repurpose for social media. That's given you the opportunity to show the world, hey, I'm a speaker. Hey, I like talking on stage. Otherwise, how are they supposed to know? It's not your future. It's not other people's responsibility to know that you're a speaker. You got to tell them that you're a speaker. You got to show them that you're a speaker. A lot of times, even if it's just getting in front of the camera, doing lives, doing, even if it's pre-recorded and pre-edited and produced content, that's fine. But being in front of the camera, constantly showing people like, hey, I know how to speak well. Hey, I know how to talk well. Hey, I can carry myself well. Hey, I can hold my own when it comes to forming sentences and thoughts. So, just realistically, just being, producing content, being consistent with it. And again, it's not their responsibility to know that you're a speaker. Let them know. Let them know that you're a speaker.
Love it, man. And actually, I lied. I have one more question.
You're
I know
good,
you were
dude.
recently on was it the panel, or did you actually speak at the Arizona event for Stuman? And how
Yeah,
was that?
man, it was really cool. So I was on the panel. So I got to be up there with 4 or 5 other, 7-8 figure earners and basically just tell our stories. I liked that format because it was a Q&A. And to me, the way that I can help people the most is by Q&A. You can ask me real life questions. Like at the end of the day, like everyone has what I'm going to call, and I apologize, but a big ass problem, right? Like everyone has that one problem that if you can help them fix that one thing, that trickle down effect will put them in a whole new trajectory. So I had the opportunity to be up there and do Q&A for people, which was awesome. Now, that was probably the coolest stage that I think I'll ever be on, with the simple fact that we were at an aquarium and the entire, I don't know, probably 15 foot tall by about 60 feet wide behind me was nothing but sharks, stingrays, and a bunch of fish and coral. And so it was super cool. At the end of the day, I still wonder how many people actually heard anything that any of the speakers said, rather than just being so distracted with how cool the background was. But to be able to say that I was on one of Ryan Stuman's stages is super cool for me. That alone got me a lot of notoriety. That's a lot of social proof. And that goes to show how important speaking can be on like establishing yourself as, an authority in your industry. Because now I can't tell you how many conversations that have led into, discovery calls, coaching calls, clients that have come from the fact that they purely saw me on someone they looked up to stage. And I don't care who you are, if someone's willing to put you on their stage, that means they obviously care enough about you. So if I trust Ryan Stuman, and then I see Sean Whalen on Ryan Stuman's stage, and that means Ryan Stuman trusts Sean Whalen, that means that Zack Williams can trust Sean Whalen. And that's kind of how that cookie crumbles. And that's kind of how that authority and that snowball effect just builds and builds and builds, and gets you the opportunity where not all speakers stick around to listen to the other speakers, but some do. And because of that, I've established some high level relationships with some of the other speakers that otherwise I, probably wouldn't have given me a time of day. Not that they're, rude or this or that, but now my authority has jumped way up.
I love that, man. That's so many good points there. But Zach, if people want to reach out to you, get some help from you on marketing, or just get to know you, follow you, watch your story as you bring in this CEO and get more into the investor side of your business and every other business that you're in, where's the best place for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, thank you so much. So, pretty much all my social medias, I'm Zack, Zack, and then ROI is the name of my business. So ROI and then Williams. So Zack ROI Williams. But the easiest way to find everything is just www.zackrowilliams.com. It's got all my links. It's got all my about me. It's got, I've got a free ebook out there that can really help you on your business. I've got, my own podcast and video cast. I've got my own course that you can hop in, and that's where you can really get some meat and get some traction on your business and marketing your business. It's a really good opportunity to kind of get in there and dissect your business from a marketing standpoint. Like I said, you might be really good at what you do, but marketing might not be one of them. That course would be really good for you.
Awesome. Well, Zach, appreciate you coming on, giving us so much value.
Man, absolutely, Philip. I appreciate you for having me, and everyone listening. Thank you so much, because I know your time is valuable.